When I first learned that Rian had cerebral palsy, it was a huge shock. Of course, nothing prepares you for that.
The idea of having a child born any other way was never considered something could go wrong.
Yeah.
Not once.
Or you think it's not
So
going
it
to
crossed
happen
my
to
mind
us.
that
It's not going to happen to us.
Welcome, everyone, to Family Comes First. I'm Vincent J. Russo.
And I'm Kim Burke. Today our topic is children with special needs. This subject is certainly one that is deeply rooted in your heart. I know that, isn't it, Vincent?
Absolutely. My daughter Teresa was born with special needs, and she was truly a gift from God. Today we have a wonderful opportunity to share the story of the Mooney family. Like my daughter, their son Rian was born with cerebral palsy. Rian's parents, Norman and Ruth, are extremely dedicated to Rian and his quality of life while raising a family with his younger sisters, Isa and Heather.
Having a child is always a life-changing event, but having a child with special needs translates into a little bit more. Isn't that right, Vincent?
Certainly, Kim. Every child is different, and each situation is different. There is no clear-cut guide to raising a child with special needs. Fortunately, there are a multitude of community resources to help our special children and their parents.
And today, we are going to be joined by Lenore Stamm, Executive Director of the Long Island Infant Developmental Program. Now, the Infant Developmental Program works with children to help each child function to his or her maximum potential. So let's take a look at a typical morning parent support group offered by Long Island Infant Developmental Program.
My son loves my father, his grandfather, and my father will sit down and he'll come over and engage him in play, and he just wants to slap him on the leg.
Well, I think that's really what happens if that's the only way for them to communicate, that they just use their hands or just reach out and they don't really know whether what's right or wrong, and they're just thinking that they're just communicating and it's the right thing that they're doing.
I think he gets bored and he just wants that attention. Or like if we're not giving him the attention he needs, then it's like, okay, I'm going to get my attention I want.
And like, how are his parents, are they handling it? Do they have a plan? Do they tell you what they want? What's been their method?
You can't watch them all the time, and he goes over to someone or something and hits, and actually something bad happens.
Right.
You know, as opposed to grabbing the hand or redirecting, if you can't watch them every
if you can't
moment.
prevent it?
I'm worried about John. Like, I notice he has trouble sitting in the group, and when the teachers come, he can't sit. He runs away, and lately he's been running into the couch and just doing a lot of spinning. I'm a little worried about that. He just started doing that.
Have you talked to the therapists at home? They can give you specific things for your son. Okay. You know, I don't know your son so well, but yeah, I really, really feel that it's important to have the same schedule every day because it just will make you more whole during the day.
We are now joined by Lenore Stamm of the Long Island Infant Developmental Program. She is the Executive Director as well as a speech and language pathologist. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Lenore, I'm very familiar with your program as our Teresa Foundation has provided support with your parent support groups, and I truly understand and live through the benefits of early intervention with my daughter Teresa. So tell us about the Long Island Infant Developmental Program.
The Long Island Infant Developmental Program is an early intervention and preschool program. We help children from birth to age 5. Most of our services either are done in the home or in a family daycare or at grandma's house, or wherever we find, our children. We do evaluations and services, and the best thing, there's no cost, no out-of-pocket cost for the family.
So who are the members of the team that work with the families once they are actually referred to you for services?
Sure. Once we evaluate children and determine that they do need services and that they're eligible for services, we have a team, and all our professionals are licensed or certified or registered professionals in New York State. And we have special education teachers, speech-language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, nutritionists, psychologists, and social workers, of course, which lead our parent support groups.
Wow, that's quite a team. So what is the current trend for services on Long Island?
Years ago, parents would say if their child was not doing what they were supposed to be doing, the doctors might say, oh, don't worry, he'll grow out of it, right? Or it's a boy, don't worry, boys speak later. But today we really know that early help makes a difference, and that's really the current trend.
Are you seeing more referrals by professionals such as doctors to your program? I mean, how do parents connect to you?
Well, parents do connect from the doctors. The doctors it's really been a change in their mindset. They really are learning these things in school, which doctors years ago really never learned about early intervention or preschool services. So families are referred to us either by their pediatrician, by a neighbor who's been through the program. Just Googling on the internet, they find information.
Times have changed from when Teresa
That's right.
was with us.
Yay, technology.
Yes, that's good.
Lenore, how old are the children who enter into your program, and how long do they stay in the program?
Early intervention is a program from birth to age 3. So some children we know when they're born may have some difficulties. They may have a diagnosed syndrome, or they may be a premature birth, and we might know that these children might need help right away. Other children don't come to us until maybe they're 15 months or 18 months. They might not be talking or walking as their peers would be. So then their parents may have some concerns. So children in early intervention stay till they're 3, and then there's certainly other help. If they continue to need help, they can go to the preschool programs through their local school district, also be evaluated, and receive services until they turn 5.
You're there as a team to support, and that's so important. I know there may be a hesitation on the parents' part sometimes to, reach out for a program like yours. What tip or what would you say to those parents?
Well, our goal is certainly to help each child reach their maximum potential. And I think in the past that people were feeling that it's a stigma to have a child who has a delay or a handicap. And we're really seeing today that it's not as, we know that it's parents receive so much joy from their children, but we're helping them to focus on the things that they need to. And because we have so much support for families today.
Does it help some families to know that there are other parents going through?
Yes.
They're not the only ones going through
Yes, I always
this.
tell a parent it might be good sometimes to either find a friend, somebody that you might meet, because they can benefit from you and you can benefit from them. You can go through the process together.
Well, thank you very much, Lenore, for joining us today. I know that a lot of people probably are grateful for the information. Thank you for creating an awareness of the services that are available for children with special needs from birth into adulthood. The work you do is certainly close to our heart here. For more information on the Long Island Infant Developmental Program, you can log on to www.liidp.org. When we come back, we'll sit down with the extraordinary parents of a young boy who has multiple challenges. Please stay with us.
When I first learned that Rian had cerebral palsy, it was a huge shock. Of course, nothing prepares you for that, and no childbirth classes really talk about that option happening. So when Rian was born, we were both felt, shocked, first of all, disbelief, and then what can we do to rectify this or, make everything all right?
I don't think the idea of having a child born any other way we never considered something could go wrong.
Yeah.
Not once.
I was a working artist before Rian was born, and my goal was to, put Rian in daycare, at a few months old and get straight back to work. But that never happened. I never ended up going back to work because, first of all, Rian's situation, it was, full-time job to just make sure he's getting the adequate care. First of all, doing research to figure out what was cerebral palsy and, how do we treat this, how do we work with this, finding out about early intervention, schools. It turned into not only his care, but doing the research and following through the therapies became a job.
Trying to decide on which therapies and what to do, there's so much there with, just first off with just, the neurologist and dealing with that medicine and a seizure disorder. So I think a lot of your time was sort of deciphering through information and trying to figure out where we wanted to spend our time and what best therapies were suited for Rian.
And even though, medicine today, it's very much broken down into categories, and we have to, fish through 10, 15 dentists until we found the right dentist that could work with Rian, and the right gastroenterologist, and the right neurologist, and the right, every area we needed to find the right person. And they don't know anything else about the other issues. So unfortunately, it has to be that broken down. So right now we're good. We've managed to find, I think, nearly everybody we need. Issa's pregnancy, I was like walking on eggshells. I was just nervous the whole time. I couldn't relax. I was nervous about the birth. I didn't, Rian at that point was still sleeping in our bed with us, and so if he ever kicked my belly, which would happen, I would, be traumatized.
But it was also very difficult with just being pregnant because you couldn't hold Rian. At a certain point.
It was difficult. It was hard on Rian.
It was very difficult for Rian because all of a sudden he had his mama who was with him 24 hours a day because Rian slept in our bed until Issa was born.
Rian is attending the Henry Viscardi School, and it's a wonderful school. We're very happy with it. It was very challenging for him to get a place there, and we're happy with the school because a lot of the kids are very cognitively abled. They just have physical disabilities. So there's a lot of interaction for Rian, social interaction, and then there's a lot of help, medical help there for him with his feeding tube and his nonverbal issues. So they address everything.
One of their specialties is facilitated communication. Their specialty, but their focus is really facilitated communication, particularly with Rian. And that's kind of, we think, his biggest challenge is to be able to communicate. So they have a fantastic team there that work across the board with all the different aspects of how, right now we're working on eye gaze, where he's using his eyes to look directly at symbols and images to communicate, and that's been quite successful. I think our big goals are communication, and that if we can really, if Rian can have a consistent, facilitated form of communication, the world will open up a lot to him.
We are now joined by Norman and Ruth. Thank you so much for being here today.
Our pleasure.
I'm going to start with a question for you, Norman. You mentioned on the video that our audience has seen that it never entered your mind that you were going to have a child other than healthy. As you know, my daughter Teresa was born severely disabled, and after the shock, what support did you have? Were there any in place right from the start? Were there any family members that had prior experiences with children with special needs,
no,
or you're on your own?
We were on our own in that sense of experience. Nobody, we had no family members that had ever had a child with disabilities like that before, so that was a huge shock in the beginning.
What was the first steps then that you took to figure out, well, Rian's coming home from the hospital, how are you going to get through the next day?
It was such an unknown territory.
Sure.
We just didn't know what to do, or, you were dealing with the shock of having a child with special needs, but then trying to desperately gain information.
But just being a parent in general is scary.
Yeah, first
time
parent.
around.
That was our first child also, Rian, so that was huge in and of itself. So
talk about how you explored his options for therapies and then schooling.
Right.
But first, initially, it probably was more at home. How do we do the best we can for Rian?
Well, it's interesting because there's systems set up, and you get offered the systems, early intervention and things like that. But you have to explore deeper, so you can't just take what's handed to you.
But in the very beginning, the early intervention was fantastic because it is a structure, and it's sort of laid out on a plate. And
but we had to find the right early intervention.
We did.
We had to find the right.
You also got to fight for as much early intervention as you can possibly get, and they will, give you the minimum, and you really got to push it to get more. But that was a great, really, in the beginning.
It's a great
start,
system
they come to your home in the beginning, and you get therapies, and they assessed Rian and for what he needed.
Yeah, we had Lenore Stam of the Long Island Infant Developmental Program talk to us in our resource room about early intervention. You make an excellent point, though. You have to fight for what you believe is important and necessary for your child, like any parent for their child.
Yeah, you're your child's advocate, basically.
Absolutely.
So you didn't just accept what was offered to you.
Exactly.
You wanted more, you wanted different, you want the best. He's your child. You want the best for your child no matter what. And
so it's a big learning curve. I mean, you have to learn also alternative therapies that are available and things beyond just early intervention.
And still your first-time parents. You're learning
Yeah.
just to be parents in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot
And
to
also
learn.
with cerebral palsy, it's such the disability is very particular to each child. So there's no, it's not like a disease or something there's a set protocol to, this is what you do.
Each child is different.
Each child is completely different.
Rian had seizures, and a lot of seizures.
Which would probably be very scary for you as a
about
parent.
150 to 300 a day at the beginning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So nobody had like Norman said, it's a child with these conditions, presenting these conditions, but with the seizure disorder as well.
And you move from a different mental mindset from we try to fix it,
Yes.
then we can't fix
Yes.
it. And
That
then
is
we,
a big shift.
and you just
and that
mentioned,
takes-
you just said that, and you shifted very importantly so that you shifted to how do we make the most for Rian? How do we give him the best quality of life? That's a difficult shift for parents.
It is,
Yeah.
and it took a long time to
Yes.
get to that point and realize that this is what this is about. It's not about fixing it or solving this problem. It's about...
He's not going to be a typically developing child.
And then through that, understanding what's beautiful about not being typical.
Yeah.
And all of us as a family being able to enjoy that experience as parents and as siblings.
And you just mentioned family, because your family changed a little bit. It was you and Rian for a while, and then Issa and Heather came along. Before you decided to have more children, did you talk about it? Were you nervous about it? Or this was something you knew you wanted to do?
Part of the decision was that Rian would have support. And then when we had Issa, we thought, well, Issa needs support. So really we were, it was all this sort of structure to give support and also to have some fun. I mean, Rian enjoys his sisters so much, and I think with Heather it's just made it all the more better. He just laughs and he engages in their play.
Give us a typical day. Just take me from what time do you get up?
Okay.
What's a typical
I'm
day?
looking forward to this
for
because he
Ruth?
told me that it's
Yeah.
just...
Well, I have to say
she's
that
amazing.
every year it changes. I mean,
Sure.
last year we had a lot more therapies outside of the home.
Right.
We did a lot of water therapy, which was phenomenal for Rian. Near our home there's a warm pool, and we would take him there 3 times a week.
Nice.
And he would float and move and start to blow bubbles, and that was
And
incredible.
he really loved it. It was,
Yeah.
as well as being a great therapy, it was
movement
the
was
one
probably-
physical thing that
movement.
Rian actually enjoyed.
Nice to him,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, and then in the summer, last summer, we were doing a lot of horse riding with him, which he loved. But a typical day now is mostly...
There is no typical day,
No.
probably.
There isn't. I'm trying to, think
Yeah,
about
trying to
everything we've done with
create
Rian,
one.
but at the moment he's doing school. I mean, that's taking up...
At the moment, he's really stable and doing really well.
Yeah.
And he's in
And he's at
school
Henry
every
Viscardi?
day.
He's
at
at
Henry
which is
Viscardi.
a wonderful, wonderful institution. And it's taking up most of his day. He's now doing his music there, and he's now doing his water therapy there, and he's now doing his art there. So we're not doing as
And
many.
his speech and his...
How is that for you then? Suddenly you have a day where you have some time.
It's very different. He leaves very early. I mean, Rian's out the door by
We put him on the bus at 7:15.
7:15.
I've always said that's the most incredible moment of the day, is when you take your child and you put him on that little
Yellow bus. Yeah.
and you say,
And you wait.
God, I have faith and belief that all these people who are going to be with my child today are going to do the right thing and take care of him. And he comes home with a smile and you say, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Thank you, God, because it is an amazing event.
And I have to say, the people in Viscardi, is every time we go there, we're just bowled over about their optimism and enthusiasm and just hard work. They're
What if they tell him
fantastic.
about communicating? How has he communicated differently since he's been to school?
It's a big issue. It's an ongoing battle. I think that, you know, just in terms of, we worked a lot on Rian's physical development when he was a baby, you know, trying to get him to crawl and walk. And like Vincent said, we just realized, you know, Rian may not walk. This is where he's at physically, but now we've been trying to work on his communication.
It's going on, and it happens with us emotionally, and but to directly communicate, yes, no, I don't like ice cream, or I do like
he
ice cream.
understands.
It's those things.
We just have to, you know, and he talks, but
you know what he's saying.
He's talking, but we want him to be able to really be able to communicate.
Sure. Tell us more about what Rian likes. What brings a smile on Rian's face, other than your beautiful presence?
His sisters, which is going back to that point of just that decision of integrating and being outside of these things, that what having other children really did was bring the rest of the world in and around Rian, and in a way they're his access almost.
Last night we put a CD on, you know, from one of the music classes that he used to go to and Issa went to, and Issa and Heather just danced around. And Rian
just
was
laughed
and kicked. And that is actually his favorite thing in the world, is, you know, movement that's involving him, and he feels like he's part of that.
People, Rian loves a dinner party.
parties.
We have 20 people over around the table. Rian is nowhere happier.
Cheers, he loves it.
Thing.
Communication, you know, being involved with it.
And his sisters, obviously.
And he gets it. I mean, he's got a good sense of humor. Yeah.
That's sometimes tough to come by. I don't care who you are. A tough sense of humor.
He has a wonderful temperament, as you know, being your attorney and spending time through the years with you, because you needed to have a guardianship put in place. He has such a great disposition. I mean, he lights up when people are in the room. He does.
He really is a people person.
And that makes everyone else better.
And he's an amazing smile. Yes.
Well, that probably comes from you guys too, as well as parents, because you're very easygoing and out. You know, you love people too. He picks that up from you.
He's social.
Let me ask you about your family support, because I noted a little bit of accent, and I think you might have family over in Ireland and other places. So how has that been for you and for them, you know, who want to be there for you, but they're from such...
They're all in Ireland, both grandparents, sets of grandparents. And actually, just in the beginning, talking about going back to that point, was even though we didn't have any real experience at that time, they were fantastic. All our parents came over, and everyone just approached it as a challenge that we all had as a family. So sisters and brothers and
I know you get to take time in the summer to go to Ireland, and that's a gift to them, because they really get to spend time and bond with their grandchildren.
It's worked out really well to go for.
And I'm sure it's support for yourself. You feel good being home with your parents and family members.
Well, it's tough when family lives so far away, because you're your own family, but then you have the rest of your family.
And you only really become aware of that when you have children, I think, and you realize, hang on a minute,
you need family.
Well, that's what our show is about. You know, family comes first, and I just thank you so much for sharing your entire family with us. And it is clear that you have such great love for Rian and your kids that it's a lesson for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vincent, for all your help over the years.
And thank you for sharing your family with us. It was a wonderful experience. And let's now check with Monsignor McNamara for a spiritual reflection.
Recently, at one of our celebrations for First Holy Communion, we had 4 children with developmental disabilities receive communion for the first time. The care and devotion of their families and siblings were very impressive. As with the Mooney family, their lives changed drastically overnight. I am sure that some days it is quite a challenge to provide for the care of their children, but they do this every day. I have profound respect for them. I see this in my own family. My niece Laura and Alex care for Nicky, who is now 11 years old. He needs constant care since, like Rian, he suffers from cerebral palsy. They never complain. Nicky's older brother Ali will be graduating from high school and going off to college this year. He has been a great help in caring for Nicky and is very patient with him. His departure will leave a void that will be hard to fill, despite the devotion of Nicky's parents and his nurses. You have to admire that kind of devotion and dedication. God bless the Mooney family and the many families we all know who provide such extraordinary care.
Rian Mooney is a child with more obstacles than most children. However, he has the support of 2 unwavering parents. With the amazing love and support from his family, Rian has a bright future ahead of him. The Mooney family demonstrates day in and day out that no challenge is unconquerable.
Well, we've certainly seen the strength of these loving parents today. And we also learned about a great outlet here on Long Island for parents of special need children to cope and to share. The Long Island Infant Developmental Program reaches out to the community with early intervention and preschool programs. For more information, please visit www.liidp.org. and the Henry Viscardi School at www.abilitiesonline.org. Of course, another great resource for special needs is your law firm, Vincent, anytime, www.vjrussolaw.com. And for more helpful information, as well as the Teresa Foundation website, which is at www.teresafoundation.org.
Well said.
It's a lot of websites, but it's very important information.
Well, Kim, it's been a great family show of love and hope.
That's the way we like to do it here. I couldn't agree more, Vincent. And I'm happy to be a part of it. So have a fantastic day, Vincent.
Thank you, and have a great day, Kim. And thank you all for joining us. And remember, family truly does come first.